Hi, and welcome to the 2020 Regina District Industry Education Council Entrepreneurial Spotlight. I have with me a very special friend and former city champion volleyball, Mr. Jordan Mcfarlen.
Thanks for the history left in there, Jeff. Super excited to be here chatting with everybody. My name is Jordan Mcfarlen. I'm fortunate to be the leader of the Connexus Incubator known as Cultivator. So we launch, grow, and scale innovative tech companies on a daily basis. I'm able to work kind of side by side from a socially distance with some of Saskatchewan's fastest growing technology entrepreneurs. And yeah, super excited to share some of our learnings today and chat with the next generation of innovators and entrepreneurs who are tuning in.
Very cool. Happy to have you. So, Cultivator Incubator. Tell me, like I'm 5 years old, what do you do here at this incubator?
Yeah, it's a great question. So Technology Incubator is really designed to, help individuals who have an idea, for a technology company to, do the research needed to start that company, to launch it, and then, once it's in existence, to help it actually make money, to grow and add value to customers. So we know that entrepreneurship can definitely be a roller coaster, and in technology, it's an even greater roller coaster with higher highs and lower lows. And we try to provide the support and mentorship needed to make those companies successful. So our goal is to help entrepreneurs be successful. So we really get the benefit of working with, tons of entrepreneurs at any one time and taking them through the program. So it's kind of like a school for technology entrepreneurs.
So why technology though? Why in this landscape in Regina, Saskatchewan, why technology?
It's a great question. I think technology's got so much opportunity as we move forward to the future. Saskatchewan has great entrepreneurial spirit. And when you look at technology, you can really build great things from anywhere. So we think about companies like Skip the Dishes, who, everybody's likely aware of. That was built in Saskatchewan, by a group of 5 friends who were, grew up in Saskatchewan here. They sold that company for over $200 million. It's still massively growing today and just, created hundreds and hundreds of jobs. It had a huge economic impact, and that was made in Saskatchewan. We look at some of Canada and our country's fastest growing companies. We think about companies like Shopify and what they're doing to help small businesses and entrepreneurs all over the world, right, bring their product to customers. And I think there's just so many industries where, their technology adoption is still slow. So there's so many places where big problems can be solved. And I think that here in Saskatchewan is a great place to do it. We've got hardworking people, right? We've got access to great resources. We've got great academic institutions. We just have the prairie grit. People in Saskatchewan just work harder.
So I'm a high school student in Saskatchewan. I fall in love with this place. I want to start a company here. How do I do that? How can I be a part of Cultivator?
It's a great question. So we host a lot of events and we help people really who are, startup curious, we call it, to kind of dip their feet in the water. So for us, that's helping people understand the difference between a small business and a startup. For us, small business and startup, the big difference is growth. So if I wanted to start a coffee shop in Harbor Landing in Regina, Saskatchewan, we would consider that a small business, right? It's there's a level of risk, but it's lower risk, but it's also got a little bit of a lower growth potential. I can be a great entrepreneur there and I can add a ton of value to our province, etc. On the startup side, that's more of a higher growth potential, but also higher risk. So that would be an example of I want to build the artificial intelligence software as a service tool for the global coffee industry. So I want to start in Asia, I want to move to India, I want to move to South America and North America. If I'm starting a coffee shop, I'm likely not planning to take over the global coffee market. So that just kind of differentiates what we see in technology and what's possible.
So, Mr. Mcfarlen, when was the moment that you kind of said, oh, wow, I need to be a part of the entrepreneurial community. I need to be a part of that business ecosystem in Regina?
That's a great question. When I, first started going into university, I was, really interested in both education and business, but I couldn't really decide. Started out in the business faculty and then, realized I had a passion for, working with young people, kind of inspiring that next generation. I found out there was a business education program where I could teach business. And so kind of blend those two worlds. The more I dove into that program, what I found is that there was a great opportunity with teaching entrepreneurship and youth entrepreneurship. So I actually went through university, became a business ed teacher, Shout out to Miss LeBass, Miss Hollinetti, all of the business ed teachers there across the province teaching Entrepreneurship 30. I was fortunate to be a high school business ed teacher for just about 8 years. Loved it, absolutely loved it. I felt like that ability to work with high school students, have them start and run a business through junior achievement and all these other programs, so powerful and so impactful. And then that actually led me to get more involved in the community. I was fortunate to do Big Idea Camp with Strategy Lab. Shout out to Jeff and Brandon and the team, where we were able to take that even further. And then, I got involved with the Audacity Council for Entrepreneurial Growth, and really found that there was a lot of individuals who were doing some really cool entrepreneurial endeavors. But as it related to technology, they were tending to move to Toronto, to Vancouver, to San Francisco. And I felt like we could do that here locally. And so Connexus Credit Union and Eric Dillon, the CEO, had a very, big vision for the future of Saskatchewan entrepreneurship. And they wanted to build a business incubator where they could help launch and grow these companies. And I was fortunate to transition into that role. So I had my dream job as a high school entrepreneurship teacher, and then I was able to go to my dream job as a business incubator manager here at Cultivator, powered by Connexus, where we're helping tech companies get off the ground.
You didn't just teach business though. How long did you teach before you started Campbell Business? The outside the classroom, the over the lunch hour, after school. When did that start?
Yeah, so for us, it was pretty early on. We realized that students, really wanted to dive into entrepreneurship. There were so many great, guest speakers and experiences we could provide. So it was in about my second year, I think, of teaching that we formalized the business program, and we were able to jump right in there and further those community connections. And I know things are, a little bit restricted at the moment, but I think there's great opportunities, digitally to bring people into the classroom like we're seeing today.
Working with entrepreneurs for a long time now, you must have heard some horror stories or had moments where people came to you for advice or help. Either what's some of the most common advice you give, or what are some of the most common flaws that entrepreneurs will live with or experience in the early years?
That's a super good question. I think one of the big things that we always see is that failure is inherently a part of entrepreneurship. And I think it's really that first attempt in learning mindset. But we see really two key things that often people get tripped up in the early stage. Often entrepreneurship, there's a lot of things out of your control, but if you focus on the things that are in your control, I think there's really two key takeaways. One of those first ones is to fall in love with the problem, right? It's really important if you're taking a problem first mentality, you're going to be iterative on what the solution is and how you solve that, and you're always dialed in. So fall in love with the problem. We see a lot of people who are super solution focused. They build something and then they get what we call innovator's bias, where they've built this shiny tool or this cool app or this software, and then they're going and trying to force it to solve a problem, but it doesn't work, right? So if they've solved the problem first, they're in a really good position to iterate what that solution is, and that might adapt over time and that might change. So make sure first you focus on the problem, not the solution. And then the second thing would be to talk to customers. We talk to a lot of people who've built something and they assume that they know what people in the construction industry need for technology, or in the parking industry, or in the restaurant industry, or in the financial industry. But if they're not actually talking to those customers and solving a true pain for them, they end up building something, taking the time, money, etc., and then it ends up not being what people want, right? There's always that inherent honeymoon period of entrepreneurship until it comes down to, oh my God, I opened the gates to actually accept payment, or I launched the product. Will anybody buy it now? And those who are most connected to their customers constantly learn the most. So always talk to your customers. Get out of the room. Get out of the space, whether that's virtually, when it's safe to do so, in person, etc. But fall in love with the problem. Get out and talk to customers.
You got me rethinking our own company about, are we just solving problems, or are we creating solutions that don't need it? That, or in Patch Adams when he's like, how many fingers am I holding up? It's quit focusing on here, look past it.
I like that, yeah.
What's the most common problem you see in early entrepreneurs or startups?
I think one of the most common, problems or challenges is trying to get those early customers. And I think for us, it's any business, whether it's technology or others, if you're super connected to those customers, it's thinking about running experiments to validate that you should do more. So an example for us that we see is really cool is if I am going to solve a problem and I feel like an industry has this problem. Let's say it's like the coffee industry and the barista industry, and I think I have there's a problem that needs my software. What you can do is run experiments to try to see if anybody would actually want this solution. So what you might do is in a pre-COVID world, you might decide you're going to set aside a little bit of funds and go to a trade show and set up a trade show and advertise the product that you think people want and see if you can get a minimum number of signups, and then you'll actually build it. So it's kind of like bluffing the market, but if no one comes to your booth, if no one talks to you, if everybody thinks it's a bad idea, you know that, hey, I maybe spent a couple $100 on the booth and the table and some marketing materials, but now I know that I'm not going to waste the next 3 years of my life and my life savings and try to raise money. Whereas if you go to that event and you find out, oh my God, we had hundreds of people walk by the booth, we got all of these signatures, we needed 500 signups to our emails newsletter, and that tells us we're going to build it. Now we have people on a wait list, they want it, it feels exclusive, and then I'll go build it. And then also if you can get people to commit, I think that everybody's afraid of asking for money or they want to lower the price, right? So they always think that, oh, well, that might be too much money. I'm not sure if Jeff would pay that, but if you can find out what the value is, and the sooner you get to a payment decision, the more you know if you have value. If I'm giving you a product for free constantly, you're likely to keep using it, right? And then if I take that away and you demand it back or want it, that helps me understand. So what we would typically recommend as well is, if you do need to do a free trial of something, try to take that trial away and see if somebody actually wants to continue or have that purchasing decision in advance. And with your early customers, try to see if they'll buy more units, and you can offer an early adopter discount. So if you're selling bath bombs to hotels or you're selling software to construction agencies, to see if they'll sign up for an exclusive one-time only 2-year deal versus month to month, just so that you have some safety net with finances.
You don't have a business until people miss you when you're gone.
Exactly.
And if you can't figure that out, it's a scary place to be in.
Totally.
Great answer.
Yeah, you want something that's sticky, that people, you want to make sure, I think too, the other thing that we talk a lot about is, you want to be a painkiller, not a vitamin, right? If I hit my knee on the ice today when I'm going home, I'm probably going for a painkiller. I'm not going to go home and take a multivitamin, right? The multivitamin is more of a nice to have, right? But a painkiller is if something's going wrong, I absolutely need this. It's not a nice to have. And I think if you're gonna go on the entrepreneurial journey, you want to find a painkiller, solve actually a painful problem for people, and they'll be so grateful for the solution.
I love that. What have you found even within your own culture now at Cultivator, in even adopting maybe some of what Connexus has provided? What is culture to you and the folks at Cultivator?
Totally, I think culture is key, and I think there's the common statement, culture eats strategy, and you want to focus on that good culture. So for us, it was really important. We're trying to work with some of the busiest people that exist, which are founders and these entrepreneurs when they're starting their companies. And so for them, they don't have a full people and culture team or HR team. It's it's one person building something innovative and trying to sell it. Then it's 2 people, it's 5 people, 10 people, 20, 40, 50. And so technology just grows so quick. So we felt like for us, it was really important that we had a high performance mentality. We really want to help companies create wins and add value to industries, make the world a better place, in various ways. We wanted to help them with a model of achieving success and learning from, previous mistakes. So we bring in a lot of mentors who've been there, they've learned from their failures, right? Or they've achieved success, and that give back. So we really want that high performance mentality. But we also really want to have fun, right? Entrepreneurship can be a roller coaster. We're fortunate to work with people at their highest highs, but we also see them at their lowest lows. And that's a difficult time. And that's where that sense of community is super important, right? And when you can have fun with that, when you can help invigorate a team who's working, long hours, who's, battling things to really catch on, it's super important to have fun with it, right? Nobody, if you're going to spend more time at work than you are potentially at home at times, although work from home's a blended environment, you want to have fun with those people, right? So we want it to be a place that, you're focused on success, you're having a ton of fun. And then lastly, we really want it to be inclusive, right? We want everybody to feel welcome. So, sometimes in the technology space, there's a thought that it's, certain genders or certain age ranges. We want any gender identity, any cultural background, any frame of thought, any age to feel welcome. And we're super excited that we have entrepreneurs that are, very seasoned in their experiences in life. And then we have some that are very fresh with their experiences. We have individuals of all, cultural and experiential and gender backgrounds. We just want it to be that really diverse, exciting space where the magic happens, right? When you bring diverse thinkers, it's just, that's where good things happen. And so that's sort of the trifecta for us with the Cultivator culture.
Going back 10, 15 years, what would you tell that basketball loving university grad new with an education degree?
Yeah, the first thing I would probably say is don't go out and find the Winston-Oil yearbooks from 2001 to 2005 and look at the photos. Don't do that, or don't talk to any teachers who taught there during that time. But I think the biggest thing that you're talking about, Jeff, is I think I've been fortunate to be in a situation to be sort of like a community builder in the entrepreneurial space. And advice that I would give myself would just be to always focus on finding a place where you can add value. And I always felt like I was trying to look at where were trends heading. It's kind of like the Wayne Gretzky, don't skate to where the puck is, skate to where it's going. And I felt like early on as a teacher, there was an opportunity in business education that was kind of untapped. And I got excited about it, and I felt like we could add a lot of value there. And I think now I see the same thing in technology. But one of the big things, been useful in my, kind of short-lived career so far is just to try to focus on constantly learning, right? I understood that I have some formal education that taught me how to do X, but a large amount of the learning that I've done is from experiences. So, as a student and as a young individual, try to get as many experiences and learning experiences as you can, because that compounds over time, right? Don't just go for the short win, but go for what's going to add the most value to you as an experience and where can you give to someone else. So that was big for me in terms of trying to meet as many people as I could in the business community and in the technology community, having big ideas about events and youth entrepreneurship boot camps and what if we could do X and what if we could do X. And so, give yourself the ability to think big, write those things down. We had in early days when I was a teacher something called, an idea binder where we'd have these wild and crazy brainstorming sessions, and we'd actually write down, and then we'd look back in 6 or 12 months, and it wasn't something we checked daily, but it was cool to see when you talked about it enough, you started to build it and do it, and always just try to build that that network of people who are smarter or more experienced than you. And I've learned so much, not necessarily from a textbook, but from connecting with people who were, really smart in the business community as entrepreneurs. And then, now through the technology entrepreneurship space that have added so much value. And I think if you invest enough, some of your investments won't return until later, right? It's like a good financial investment. You might go through some ups and downs, but I found for me in my life, anytime I've invested in helping other people, that's really returned a massive ROI for me without me thinking about it at the start later. So I'll do some some key community work or things like that, and then 12 months later, 24 months, 36 months, it's just odd how things seem to give back. So I think get involved as much as you can. Do good work, try to just add value where you can, learn as much as possible. And as cliche as it is to say, those things just generally tend to work out when you give yourself the opportunity to be lucky, right? You just got to put up enough shots and get enough opportunities, put yourself in the right spots.
Okay. How can people follow along with what you're doing at Cultivator?
Yeah, so if people are interested in learning about what's going on in the technology startup space in our province and some of the cool things that are happening, they can check out at Cultivator SK on Instagram and Twitter. You can check out Cultivator Powered by Connexus on Facebook. You can sign up for our email newsletter on cultivator.ca, and then hopefully you can tune into some of our events here in 2021. We do a lot of things where we're bringing in speakers from San Francisco, Toronto, and other places, and we absolutely love getting high school students involved. We've also got an event called 24-Hour Startup coming up in February. So if you want to, jump and take a cannonball into the pool of technology startups, come get signed up. We've had high school students participate since we very first started the event. And it's a great thing to put on your resume and to kind of, take a stab at it. It's a Friday night and a Saturday. So you're not, giving up a month of your time by any means. You're just taking a weekend. and learning as much as possible. So definitely come out. And then, you know, when things are a little bit safer and more secure, we'd love to have people come by for a field trip or a connection here at the Cultivator HQ in Regina on College Ave.
Heard they have good coffee.
Great coffee. Yeah, we do have great coffee. Coffee's on us if you want to come by when it's safe to do so. All right, everybody, thanks so much for joining. Huge shout out to all the students who are showing an interest in entrepreneurship. It's a very bright opportunity in the future. Huge shout out to all the teachers who are teaching entrepreneurship and the parents who are encouraging that route. And then a huge shout out to RDIEC with Gord and the team. Love the work you guys are doing. You don't got to go home, but you can't stay here. That's a wrap, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in.